Good evening. My name is Harry Nierenberg. I am the CAP advisor at Miami Palmetto Senior High. And under normal circumstances, we would be doing this in the auditorium with about 300 or 400 senior parents. And tonight, we're going to do it on Zoom, recorded. And the reason I'm recording it is because when I talk in front of a large audience, I don't have much of a filter. I guess since I'm recording this, we're going to be filtered a little bit. So you'll excuse me if I don't have my normal sense of humor. On these times, unusual times of the COVID crisis, I guess sense of humor would be a little better for us all, but we're going to just go and wing it. Under normal circumstances, this would have been a little bit earlier, but again, with the opening of school being late and the adjustments we've had to make, we will go with this, and I will put it on our YouTube, and we will go from there. Once again, this is senior parent night. These are supposed to answer like all your questions and maybe create more questions. And after a normal senior parent night, some parents will come and talk to me and ask questions, or they'll talk to the counselors and ask questions. And that's the idea of this program. It is meant for you to have questions. I don't think everybody knows it all yet. So when we go from there, I just want to make sure that you are prepared to be a little overwhelmed. There's some things you do know and some things you don't know. So from this moment on, I'm going to start the slideshow. And once again, at the end, my email will be up there. Linda Dwyer's email will be up there. And on our school website, all the school counselors' emails are up there, sorry. Once again, the recording, I'm going to screw up a little bit. And we're going to go from there. Okay, so I'm going to go to my slideshow and share screen. Give me 1 second and we'll go and share away. And we're going to do a little bit of this play from current slide. And once again, this is the year we will all remember. The class of 2021 is having an experience that I would not wish on most high school kids. But we have to have faith that we're going to move forward, and hopefully this year, next time, your children will be wherever they're supposed to be, in the right place and healthy. I know you're all stressed. I know we talk a lot about the College Board and the ACT. I know that deadlines are looming. I know that it's really easy to procrastinate when we're home all the time. Excuse me. I know the test optional situation is a big thing. I know you all have big decisions to make about your children. I know the financial aid comes into it, and how to do this all when it's all changed. You know, I think if anybody says they know the answers, I don't think they're giving you the truth. I do believe that you need support in helping make decisions. And once again, Ms. Dwyer has been hired as an interventionist. We have the counselors, and a lot of the teachers have experience in this realm of the college application process. So we're going to go from there. Who's this for? It's for everybody, whether your child's staying home or going in-state, whether they're going in-state or going out of school, whether they're going to a private school or a public school. Do they need letters of recommendations? Do they need a transcript? Do they need test scores or not? Do you need financial aid or not? But either way, this is for you. This is for your child, no matter where they're headed. Is college for everybody? In Palmetto, it's a large percentage. We have about 90% of our kids go to 90 to 95% of our kids go to a 4-year or a 2-year institution. Our kids go from everywhere, from staying in town and doing career programs, jobs. A lot of them go to Miami-Dade County Community College. 2-year programs are fantastic. And then once again, in our own hometown, we have great colleges. And then, of course, in state, we are probably one of the best state school systems for a lot of the purposes. It's your job to investigate. And once again, then we have some people watching this whose children are headed out of state to some of the most premier colleges in the country. That's why Palmetto is such a fantastic school, because we are such a wide variety of kids. And I believe it's a perfect place to be. And I hope your child's having as good of an experience as we can have at this time. Read the literature, make sure. Make sure you know about standardized testings. We're going to talk a little bit about making a list of schools. You're going to have to make that decision whether or not they're going to leave home. And then hopefully come February, March, you're all going to sit down, make a decision where to send your child to school or to whatever their plans are. Colleges are still flirting with you. They love your children. They want to send you snail mail in the middle of all the election stuff coming to your mailboxes. I'm sure the colleges are still flirting. I'm sure they're getting emails all the time. It's it's a very weird experience. The kids are being enticed by these beautiful scenery. Go take a virtual tour of our school, talk to us, let us tell you about our programs. It's an amazing, overwhelming time of the year for you all. And it's not any easier with what's going on, but it is not dating. It is not a lifelong commitment. You're not marrying this school. It is more, actually, it's more like leasing a car. It's sort of like having a vehicle for 4 years and it's going to get you somewhere and then you're going to move on. So it's more like leasing a car. It's not having a child. It's not buying a house. So it's really important that you communicate with your child. It's important that there is some financial disclosure and being realistic and still let them have their dreams. And the reality is a lot of your children don't know what you're doing for a living. They know maybe you're a nurse or a doctor or a lawyer. They don't know what you're doing in that program. If I ask that question, many times they really don't know. If you have a business, they know what kind of business, but they don't know what you do 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. And they need to know the financial. They don't know how much your real estate taxes are. They don't know how much your windstorm insurance is. They don't know these things. And you have to be communicating to them if you want to have an honest year where they can make a good decision with you. Don't fall in love with a school. Understand that their feelings are going absolutely ballistic. Besides just being a normal 17, 18-year-old kid, they're going through a life-changing decision. This is the biggest decision most of them have ever had to make in their entire lives. And it's a good decision. It's going to work out. Choosing your path after high school is extremely stressful. They overcompensate. They're stuck in fear. They're going into uncharted territories. They're trying to graduate with all the things going on, be home all the time or coming into school wearing a mask. We're putting them under undue stress. And then they have just the fear process. I learned this from a very important book. Fear is fantasizing experiences appear real, but this is not a hurricane looming in the water. This is an opportunity for them to move forward and go forward in their life and move into another chapter. So let's make their dreams come true. Nobody has total control. This has to be a we decision. They have to have motivation to apply for scholarships if they want to get money. If they need the money, you need to let them know they need the money. They have to worry about their grades and they have to know where to apply and once again, make that final decision. As I was talking before, your feelings, your finances are all meshed in this whole entire thing. The ability to pay for college is huge. It could be anywhere between $200,000, over $200,000 to free, and you have a big decision to make with your child. Their behavior, their reactions probably will not be very good. Your behavior, your reactions may not be always on because you're letting your child go. You're letting them move forward and making a decision. And once again, here we are in a process where they're going to ask people if they can come there and they're going to be accepted and rejected. And the last test finally is the thing they're stressed about, especially this time. We're going to talk about the SAT in a few seconds and the ACT, and their last test is coming up if we can get it all done. Okay, so that's the feelings part of this program. I'll probably get back to it again, but I want to make sure we get through some driven data. The student histories are on their portal. Make sure everything's right. Make sure their name's correct. Make sure we find date of birth wrong, ethnicity, make sure it's on there. Social Security becomes a big issue. I know you guys don't like to give the numbers out, but Miami-Dade College will not take an application and will not get a transcript if their Social Security number's not on there. Make sure all their grades are right. Some teachers promise grade changes and they're in there. We've done them. But we just want to make sure, it's just like the old days of balancing your checkbook. I guess you guys are a little young for balancing your checkbook, but all credits are documented. If they did dual enrollment, virtual school transfers, all that. And that's one little section that we just want to make sure is taken care of. It's the bookkeeping. It's also making sure you meet with your counselor and make sure their credits are on. You can look on the portal and see that stuff. But for getting ready for college, we're going to use this tool if they're staying in state. It's called the SUS Matrix. It's the key for the choices. It gives all the information about the state schools. And remember, all the colleges are visiting our school virtually. If you look at our calendar on what we're going to talk about in a minute, SCORE, It has shown where the colleges have been coming to visit, who has open houses, who has virtual tours, and they are doing it. Miami-Dade is a program that you're actually thinking of using, which is a fantastic program. Miami-Dade is coming once every few weeks. They open a virtual site at lunchtime. Your kids can go in and Zoom with a representative. We've got a great representative right now named Brent Allen. Miami-Dade is super accommodating. They're also good with financial aid too. They've got a great financial aid department. Everything is changing, but everything's still the same. You know, realistically, yes, we're tweaking things, but it's still the college application process. And there's still so much information, and watch out for misinformation. If you doesn't sound right, don't listen to it. Come check with one of the counselors, me, one of your teachers. They tend to know a little bit more and are up to date. And once again, always available for those kind of questions. This is what's the SUS Matrix. This is an amazing tool. This has all of our state universities, and it's got all the information you want to have it. It is sitting in your child's file drive in SCORE, which once again, we're going to talk about in a second. And it will tell you, once again, if you can see what kind of application they use, what's their average GPA, SAT, and ACT from last year. If you qualify for a waiver, which you do if you get free lunch, different ways to get waivers. Sorry about that. And we're going backwards. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. That would happen live too. If we were in the auditorium doing this, that would be happening also. But how do they take your GPA in the transcripts? And once again, all the deadlines for either fall or summer admission. Okay, we are using this new program called SCORE, and it's spelled SCOIR. We are trying to get all the seniors to sign up for it. It's super important because at the end of the year, we're going to be sending transcripts through SCORE. If you have an underclassman, it's an unbelievable tool to be able to search colleges and do things, organize everything, create a resume, put all your awards, put your grades. It's super. So for seniors right now, if they need letters of recommendation and sending some of the transcripts, we're utilizing SCORE. And you have to make a profile. You can join once your child is joined. So make sure you do it. Make sure the notifications are on. Make sure your child looks at the notifications. They continuously send you reminders. I'm just so impressed by this device. And Miami-Dade County Public Schools is now using it for every child in high school. All your files are on SCORE, and that SUS thing is on their tool. Like I said before, it's a resume writer, record keeper, your counselor recs, interest survey. There is an interest survey. I'll talk about it in a second. And the Common App and the Coalition are the tools we use to apply. Okay, that is where you apply. You can go to Common App with your child, create that account. And most of the seniors have done this if they're applying within the state schools, because most of the state schools, with the exception of a few, are using it. Watch the videos on Common App. They're super. This is what SCORE sort of looks like. There's a thing, the release FERPA, which you have to release authorization. There are, your information, personal details go on. It tells you where you can research over 900 colleges. It tells you their average SAT score, the acceptance rate. If you have younger children, eventually it's going to keep what they call a scattergram, where you can see how Palmetto students do going into college, using SCORE as a tool. It keeps track of your deadlines and reminds you of your deadlines. This is that we used to tell you guys to keep a spreadsheet with your schools. You don't have to do that anymore. SCORE will do that. And I'm not a commercial for SCORE. It's super. You can, like I said, research the college, the choices, and then go take a virtual tour. You can go in and do this, and it's just give your majors. I don't even know how to tell you how much I'm impressed by this. I'm going to go back for one more second. There's a thing called Youth Science on SCORE, and it's an interest survey. And Dade County Schools has been using different kinds of interest surveys to try and figure it out. But one last thing. Your child sits down and takes a 2-hour survey of their interests. I know you probably did this when you were younger too, with tests like the ASVAB and other scores. But not only will it do the interest survey and tell them what their interests are, it then leads to majors. And then from there, it leads to the schools that have that major. And then it goes to the schools with the prices and the income you'll need for that. And then if you want to take a virtual tour with them, it does that too. It consolidates. You can put the geographic area you want. And that's one of the things many things that SCORE can do for you. And then once again, younger children, get them on right now, 9th grade on, get on SCORE. It will be our primary way to send announcements. And like I said before, it's a calendar, school visits. And we have a problem with our children, and I think I'll talk about it in a few seconds later, but let's talk about it now. Let's talk about email. We're going backwards in technology. We're back to email as a way of communicating. It is the way the schools are going to notify you. It's the way we're going to notify you. You have to read your emails. You have to have your children read your emails. They're pretty good. You can get their password for email, not for a lot of other things, but they'll give you the password to their email so you can help keep track of that. They've got to become notifications on for everything, and look at them and just don't glance them. It's just the primary way that the colleges are going to communicate. Don't miss a scholarship opportunity. Don't miss an application deadline. Email, snail mail is gone. All the ways of networking are not accurate for everybody, but email is the way that the colleges and the schools are going to talk to you. They're going to keep track of your deadlines and scholarships and transcripts and lots more. That's a little note there for me to take a breath and just breathe. We're going to talk about these things right now, and some of the colleges that are very interested in our kids. There's a lot of technology and verbiage. Some of you already know this, but I just want to make sure I go over that. Early decision is a binding decision. UM's early decision is November 1. Some schools right now are moving decision dates back. You have to keep track of that. When I say you, by the way, I mean your children and you. Them by themselves, sometimes whoever's doing it, keep track of deadlines. Early action, there's two types: non-binding and single choice. Non-binding means you're going to be interested now. You're going to go that November 1st or 15th deadline. You're telling the college you're applying. Our state schools do not do early decision or early action, okay? Other schools have single choice. You only can apply to them early action, no one else. Every school is a little bit different. It'll be there on SCORE to help you. Finally, there's regular decision, which is a rolling decision, varies as per college. Remember, there are only a couple schools in Florida that have a deadline. UF, FSU are the big ones. UF's deadline is remaining November 1 for applications, all through the Common App or Coalition app, and that has to be done. There's a thing called the SAR, which I'll talk about in a second. That has to be by December 1st, and the SAT, ACT, Florida and Florida State are taking the December scores, and that's it. And the other schools will probably take scores going into January. Once again, go to the school's website and check that. FSU has a priority deadline. They moved it to December 1st, and a lot of the money merit scholarship deadlines have been moved back. So once again, make sure you keep track of this stuff. So I think I just said all these things. I'm not going to repeat myself. This way you can go back and watch the slideshow 2-3 times, just watch it. What do colleges look at? Let's really be specific about this. There's two factors that the colleges look at, two big things, maybe three if they take teacher recommendations. But the colleges look at their academic profile. They look at what they've done in grades 9 through 11. They look at their 12th grade schedule. They look at how they rank in our school. We're a very competitive school. They know we have 31 AP classes. They know our average SAT, ACT scores from previous years. They know we're one of the more competitive high schools in Miami-Dade County, and that counts. That's good for us. They like Palmetto. It's an amazing feeling when you walk up to a college rep and you say you're from Miami Palmetto Senior High, and they stop and they talk to you. So know that our school is well respected. They look at our GPA in comparison to the core GPA, and I'll talk about what core GPA is in a second. Different schools use different ways, and in many schools, this can be half of what they're looking at. And in some schools, it's 30 or 40%. In some schools, it's 60, 70%. So, but this is one half of what they look at. The other half are, how you're applying. Are you applying early decision or early action? Some schools give a higher percentage of acceptances, and early action even a little bit higher. The earlier you show interest, the better it is. Applying late is not a great thing to do. They look at your underrepresented the cities. They look at the essay. It's a huge part of the essay. Just remember, don't overanalyze your child's essay. If they don't want you to read it, don't take it personal. Just have an adult look at their essay. I always tell the kids, have somebody check your essay who doesn't love you. Let somebody check your application who doesn't love you, someone who cares but not loves you, because we're biased when we do that. The essay is a huge part for some of the other schools. The University of Florida and Florida State, the essay truly counts. Obviously, all the private schools, they read them twice. They want to make sure. Extracurricular activities, whether it's in school or out of school, we know it's been deeply impacted this year. The colleges are saying, say what you were going to do if we had stayed open. Where you are from counts. Being from South Florida is huge. We are a large, huge population of the students who apply to the schools, especially in the state. They want to know if you're a hardship or they have a challenge to overcome. Single parent income, low income, first generation, legacy counts for a lot of schools, and the characteristics of your child. This is the other half that they look at. And every school weighs it differently. Excuse me one second. Okay, sorry about that. I would have done that normally in the auditorium too. Probably put a peppermint in my mouth, take a break, tell you guys to breathe, I should breathe. But once again, by the way, ignore the thing on the bottom of the screen if it says college fair. I do steal slides from previous programs that I've done, and that was on there from before. Okay, so when we choose colleges and we make a list, and we have to have an academic safety and a financial safety. Well, I always tell the kids, and I think I'm going to say this again because it's important, they have to have a school that you can afford, that they can get into, and they won't cry if it's the only school that accepts you. Academic and financial safeties are huge, okay? And these are going to be a little bit more topics I'm going to talk about. We're going to talk about Bright Futures, which is now called the FFAA. It's open in December. Watch your test scores. Remember that the test scores have gone up, but children have until June to take that test. Make sure you've got your documents ready for prepay if you have it, and do your homework on college merit programs. It is a strange year in testing. Like I said, most schools are taking it all the way through the new year, but Florida State are doing it through December. Subject tests for some of the higher schools, the higher level schools, the higher ranked schools. Very few schools are doing subject tests anymore. If you're going to Miami-Dade, they use a test called the PERT. It's an entry test. If you have high SAT scores, they count that instead. Sending reporting scores, remember 3 to 5 weeks. There is a rush button for SAT, not for ACT. And some schools are actually asking you just to self-report your SAT scores, and watch if they're close to a scholarship application, a scholarship notification. Some schools require a letter of rec, certain others. Florida schools, when I say Florida, I mean the state schools, do not want letters. There are some schools that will. If you send a letter of recommendation and they don't require one, it flags the application. There's no method for them to put that in there. So they're not looking for letters of recommendation. All of our state schools, except for New College and FAMU, which requires a short one. They will be asking for your counselor's name, but once again, no letters of rec from your counselors for those schools. Private out-of-state schools want 2 letters of teachers and 1 report from a counselor with a full letter. In these crazy times right now, some of the teachers are having problems having time to write a letter, learning, adapting to new ways of teaching. If there's an issue with letters of recommendation from teachers, please let the counselor know so they can inform the school. Please let us know. There's a senior profile they need to fill out if they're going to ask for a letter of rec. It's in the drive on SCORE if they need to fill it out. Many of them have filled it out in 11th grade. They need to update it. They have to waive their rights on the FERPA section. We do not send letters if you do not waive your rights. It's one of those things, Palmetto policy we've had for years, and we're still going to continue to do that. Repeating myself, but it's important. Make a list of the schools. How long of a list? I don't know. That's up to you. If free applications, entice more applications. Remember that your list, once again, should include a safe school that you're willing to go to. You can afford it, and you're not going to cry if that's the choice for your child. Good match schools are ones that you think they can get admitted because they match their scores. But remember, they still have an acceptance rate. So there are reasons why they don't accept people. And reach schools are the ones with the lowest admission rates. Reach schools are the ones where they are accepting under 10% of the kids, okay? 15% of the students' applications. They're reach schools. You can meet all the criteria and there's nothing wrong with your child. It's just the acceptance rate is so low that it just impacts, and they use that holistic side I was talking about before to help them make a choice. I want to make sure I say this. University of Florida is a reach school for anybody in our school. Even if you have a perfect SAT, ACT, and you've got a 4.0 GPA and you've taken the hardest classes, they weigh that holistic side so importantly. It really does matter. And don't ever think that if you can blow off an application because you meet all their criteria. Make sure that application and the resume is clean. But just remember, please, these are important things to remember. We talked about core classes before, just mention a little bit. Our state schools use a system called the core classes. They only look at their major electives: English, math, social studies, science, foreign language, any other honors or AP classes that are academic. There's a lot of classes they don't count. They weigh them differently. Our school system gives 6 points for an A in an AP class and 5 points for an A in an honors class. They cut it in half. Honors classes are half a point extra. AP classes are 1 point extra. If you need help with that, actually, you can ask any of the counselors. We all know how it works. It's not as difficult as it sounds. Just remember that the GPA that we offer you is not the GPA that a lot of the other schools. I know this is super crazy, but some schools do count it. University of Miami looks at our GPA, but our state schools do not, and Bright Futures does not. They do the core class GPA. So just remember that as we go through the process. I'm going to talk about a few of our more popular schools. Okay, with the UF application, one of the big hints I have is make sure your questions are always answered. On YouTube right now, there's a short program that a couple students and I analyzed the University of Florida application. It's there for you and your child to look at with a couple weeks left in getting that done. If the application's not in, please make sure you look at it. I have spoken to your children. I have visited almost all the classes, and we have talked about how important this UF application is. So on YouTube, under my name, College Sense to Me, or my name, there is a video about the UF application and the tricky little tricks there are in the holistic application. Remember that UF has an honors program, Innovation Academy, which starts with certain majors where you begin in January and you never go to a fall session. Okay, when I say you, by the way, I'm talking about your kids. And then once again, they have an online college. It's super great. Their business program has a lot of classes online, even before the pandemic. And remember, they will decide summer or fall. You can decide where you want to apply, but they'll decide where you want to do it. So once again, the YouTube, there is a little short video with a couple of kids who are going to Florida. I made it during the summer, and please look at it. FSU, they came to visit us on October 9th. Here are some insights. If you have a lot of C's, your child has a lot of C's as a final grade, there's a high chance they're going to defer you, okay, and then want to see your senior grades. And so it's really important that those kids' senior semester grades come up. They're not letting you know till mid-February because they want to see senior grades. And if they've got somebody ready to accept and then they report these grades aren't so good, you have a problem. One more time, there's a CARE program at FSU. It's for students who first generation means you don't have a college degree, and they are the first child they're the first generation in your family. So if they have siblings that went, that doesn't count. But if you or your husband do not have a college education with a graduation date, CARE program's an unbelievable program. They watch through it very carefully. Watch your child. UCF, no matter what your situation is, they do not have a deadline. Make sure your child's applying there if it's on there now. They will not deny you. They will just wait for more information. They'll be waiting for a mid-year grade. They'll be waiting for another SAT score. They are also using something new this year. They have a top 10. If you are in the top 10% in Palmetto or a 3.9 GPA, I believe it is, they're going to accept your child automatically as long as the application's in. You do have to report your grades using a different program called the Spark. The other schools use the SAR. So they're both very similar, that the child reports their final grades for every class. Make sure I say that again. Their final grades for every class. FIU, apply early. And I just watched, they just did a great program with all the university directors. They all want applications with or without a score. Make sure your applications are in. It's time to apply. There's a program called Raise.me. You have until November 1st to have your child finish it. It's a program where they document their grades and they actually get money at some schools just for their grades. Scholarship deadlines. Some top schools are on this. It is a top school, FIU. It's an amazing program in so many things. If it was far away, the kids would be clamoring to go there. In some of their majors, they're one of the finest in the state, if not the best. Miami-Dade College, remember the American dream. So many kids go to Miami-Dade because if you have a 3.0 weighted and you fill out a financial aid form, there is no tuition, but you must attend school next August. That is one of the keys. Your child must be in school. So one more time, American Dream 3.0. And don't forget Miami-Dade Honors College, fantastic program where your kids can go there for 2 years, very regimented program. And then some of their kids go to some of the finest colleges in the United States. Their goal is to get your children to go to the top premier schools in the country. So Miami-Dade College has amazing 2-year programs, amazing 4-year programs. It's just, we're very lucky. I can just tell you that. We are very lucky. University of Miami, right in our backyard. You must do 2 types of financial aid if you want to qualify for any kind of money. CSS Profile is another program. On my YouTube channel, there is a financial aid night, which we had a couple of weeks ago. There's a director of financial aid, and actually an admissions officer is on there. All your questions about financial aid are on it. Make sure you look at it. Remember that if you are in the top of the class, if you have a high SAT, you can qualify. So for major scholarships, last year they offered us over $4 million. I don't. Oh. All right, I'm just taking a breath. So now we're going to talk about applying now. Remember that FIU and University of South Florida, they have merit scholarships, but you have to apply by January 15th. All of our state schools have that. Once again, I talk ahead of the slides. I'm not trying not to read the slides. So I talked about Miami-Dade Honors. Get your child to apply. Please get them to apply. What's stopping you? Yes, we know the SAT scores need to be sent and reported and up to December. We know the test scores are not automatically sent to the schools. You have to send them. They're not on our transcript. And the longer you wait, the harder it is to get in. When is the next test? You've got to look at that and research that. Tests are being given all over the state right now. So please, one more time, nothing stopping you but procrastination. This test optional, test blind, test needed, test required. If anybody's going to tell you, they know exactly how it works. These schools who are just going test optional for the first time this year are using models created by schools that have been doing test optional for years. There are schools that are test blind. And then all of our state schools are test needed. Let me make sure I'm giving you that. It's required, okay? They're going to look at the other parts of the application before they look at that. So they're insinuating, they're being quiet about how they're doing it, but it is test optional, not. Test needed, yes. They're making you take the test. How much it will count, I can't tell you for sure, but they are saying they're going to weigh it a little bit less. Reporting the schools, remember that Palmetto does not report your SAT scores to any of the schools. They're not on your transcript. You must go to College Board or ACT and send them to the school. If you did not use a free waiver when you took the test, you can still qualify for free lunch and get free applications. Talk to Ms. Fair for SAT and ACT waivers. Talk to your counselor about application waivers. And one more time, remember, Florida State self-report, as well as some other schools, they also self-report. I want to make sure I put this in there. I added this in the last minute about disciplinary action. Remember, if your child got sent to CSI or they had a minor violation back in 9th grade, it may not even be on the record. That's not what they're looking for. If your child has any question about whether to report a disciplinary action, have them talk to their counselor, have them look at the record, see how serious it is, and then make a decision. We will advise you, but it is your decision. If you do have to flag a disciplinary action, there's usually another form you have to fill out later on after your application is submitted. What makes an application complete? These following things: application submitted on time with the application waiver, transcripts or the SAR or the SPARC reported, SAT scores ordered, and if they need a letter of recommendation, on time. Remember, a lot of schools will have a deadline for your application. Most schools, that's not a deadline for the counselor to send a transcript or the letter of recommendation. There's no particular order in this. Just get everything in it, and then it'll all match up. When it's complete, they're ready to evaluate. So it doesn't matter if the SAT's not there yet. It doesn't matter if the letter of rec's not there yet. It just matters that the application's in. And I'm talking about 98% of the schools. All right, we're going to change gears and talk about scholarships for a little bit. Institutional, state, and private scholarships. The biggest we'll go with are institutional scholarships. Most colleges have them. They're usually the most generous. Qualify early by testing early. Send those test scores to the colleges. They super score. They're going to look at their child's information, and they're going to offer you institutional money. If you're coming up short when you get accepted to a college, go back on, make sure that there's not an institutional scholarship you forgot. And watch those deadlines. The next bet is a good one. It's Bright Futures. Once again, they have raised the requirement. They must apply senior year prior to graduation. We've opened up the application. I like to wait a little bit. I will come to your children's classes either via Zoom and tell them about it's time to apply, and I'll go through the application. There is in your drive and score directions on how to fill out the FFAA. That is Bright Futures. And don't confuse Bright Futures with FAFSA. They're all open. Watch that senior financial aid night. It's on YouTube under my name. Once again, College Sense to Me, or my name. And we'll give it to you. Remember, you can test all the way to June. Remember, community service must be documented for graduation and for Bright Futures. 75 hours for Florida Medallion, 100 hours for Florida Academic Scholars. Here are the requirements. These are also in the drive on score, but they have raised the requirements of the test on SAT, and they have lowered it for ACT. So the 25 on ACT is a reasonable score, and they're also going with the 12-10 on the SAT. If your child's in any vocational programs, the Gold Seal Scholarship Program pays a little bit less, requirements are less, but it is money coming, especially if they're going to Miami-Dade for that kind of program, it does help. For Bright Futures, we apply around now through December. March, the first decision comes up. You're locked into that decision only for the positive. If your score goes, if you want to go higher, you can get in later. So in other words, if your child has a 3.1 GPA and apply in now, and in January it goes down, as long as the application's in, it counts. If it goes up to a 3.5, which not going to happen, but it could, you can only get up in the monies. So one more time, in June, transcripts and test scores are uploaded by Dade County Public Schools. In July, the decisions are finally out. If you get it in January, you can't lose it in July unless you don't graduate. And once again, in August, the money is sent to the school that your child puts on the application. I think I talked a little bit about raise.me. Please make sure you go in there and make sure your child does it. Up to $10,000, $20,000 in some schools a year. So you may discover schools you've never even noticed before because these schools are offering money on raise.me. FAFSA, we had like I said, the financial aid workshop. It's on the YouTube. FAFSA is open. For Miami-Dade, it's required if you want to get that scholarship. They're using the year 2019 taxes. Okay, so if that's what they're using, there's no reason not to file a FAFSA. If there is a huge income drop because of the pandemic, there is a way you can appeal the process once it's done. Don't pay for FAFSA. There are people who would charge you. They're legitimate, but they charge you to do this. This form is simple, and you upload your taxes from 2019 for fall admission. You use your 2018 taxes for summer admission if you want to get money for those times. FAFSA is super important. The first letter is free. The last part of the scholarships are private scholarships. You'll see them on Score for me. I'll be publishing them. You'll see it on the Facebook page that I have for parents sometimes. I'll post them in different ways for the kids. I really am shutting down Edmodo because Score is so effective at communicating, but private scholarships are out there. It's a job. What I've always told parents, if they're home, fill out the application and have your child write the essay. Local organizations such as Rotary and Kiwanis offer money. Your church or synagogue may offer money. Your place of employment, UPS, we had a winner last year. We had a winner from Walmart last year. We had a Burger King winner. We had a Coca-Cola finalist, which is big. Coca-Cola is open right now. Comcast is open right now. If you're a teacher in the program and you belong to the credit union, there's a lottery scholarship that a couple of our kids win every year because your parents are employees and it's a lottery. That application I will put out there when it comes to me. It will get sent to you. Don't forget about Silver Knight Awards. If your child has a major community service project, make sure we know about it. Merit scholarships are out there just based on their community service program. And then, of course, there's financial need-based scholarships. Never pay money for scholarships. It doesn't make sense. Then there's nomination scholarships, which go back to the institutional scholarships. They're out now. Duke, WashU, UNC, Davidson, they all have them. Ken Cook scholarships right on the Common App. And there's so many other possibilities. If your child has a great community service project and over a 3.2 GPA, have them contact Ms. Spivak at school through email and let her know there's a meeting right around now coming up that you can have your child go to. Let us know. Contact me if you can't reach her, and make sure your child applies for Silver Knight. Common App, I know we're not using it as the full tool for applications for the transcripts, but it is an amazing tool when it comes to looking for information. If you have questions about the process, they have their own scholarship search there through there too, tutorials on how to apply. If you have a question, have your child watch that video. It's an amazing organization. Websites for scholarships, these are just a couple. There's also FastWeb, and so many other scholarships out there. Just make sure they're legitimate. Be careful because there are scams out there. Don't join societies that cost money. Never pay for a scholarship. Make sure you just check with me, check with Ms. Dwyer before you do it. College virtual fairs are happening all over the place. That NACAC has them. You can go back and watch some of them. There's one coming up November 8th from 2 to 10 p.m. The website's right there. And just if you have any questions about it, you want to see it, when you go to the colleges, they'll tell you if they're going to be at any particular fair. You can have one-on-ones with college reps. And the ones that come to our school and are doing virtually are usual first readers. Once again, check the calendar on SCORE and you'll see what's happening. Miami-Dade County Public Schools, I put this out in different ways to you all. There's still a few of them left. There's been a couple added. This one on October 15th, which I'll put up on video, the recording of it was amazing, hour and a half, where all 12 state directors of admission were there answering all types of questions, really focused on the College Board issue. And all of these tools, there's one on the SCORE, there's one for the historical Black colleges coming up, which is right here. If you're going for any of the HBCU schools, they're doing a series of fairs during that day from 4 to 6. It's sponsored by the fraternities, sororities. It's for if you're thinking of a historical Black college, it is an amazing fair they're going to do. Did I say this before? I'm sure I did, but let me make sure. Letters of recommendation for certain schools, but not for all Florida schools. They'll ask your counselor's name, but no letters of rec. Don't put our email on the Common App. Most private or out-of-state schools want those 2 letters of recommendations from teachers and 1 report from a counselor with a full letter. Senior profiles, which are on that drive, are necessary to get a letter, and you must waive your rights on the FERPA or we will not write the letter. I know I'm not old and senile. I put this on there for a reason. All right, transcripts are a huge issue this year because every school requires a different way of doing it, and I'll talk a little slower through this. How are you applying to school? You're using Common App. You are not sending transcripts through Common App. We're not sending letters through Common App. It is just the application. SCORE is for non-state university schools. It is for the out-of-state or private schools. UF, FSU, FAU, Gulf Coast, UNF, New College, and Florida Polytech require your child to do the SAR and report your final grades only. FIU, USF, and UWF are still ordered at the school at palmettopanther.org. And UCF is using a device called the Spark. I will put a couple of videos up on how to do these things on the file drive on SCORE, okay? If they're not listed on the electronic, your counselor can notify SCORE that you're applying and upload a transcript and make sure it's emailed to them. It's confusing this year. We're in a transition year. We're in the year of the pandemic. Things are being a little bit different, but the SAR is an easy form that takes about an hour. Your child can get their student history right on their portal. The SAR, you report all the classes. They only look at the core classes for most of the state schools, no transcripts for those schools. Try not to change your schedule. We try not to change schedules after you report things on your SAR. Make sure you designate an honors, AP, or a dual enrollment class. Any issues, please ask one of us for help. Class rank came out a couple of weeks ago. Their child was placed in a percentile or decile. We use a 4.0, 6.0 scale for percentiles. All the other schools use deciles under Common App. Your child can just ask, call, or email Miss Dwyer on SCORE, and she will send them out their percentile. If they see their counselor, if they're in the building, they can go ask their counselor for their percentile. I would prefer to do it by email. It's pretty easy for us to look it up. We do it again in February, and that's the last time we actually calculate class rank. And that's where we get our cum laude students, our magna, or summa. That's the last time they actually get a percentile. Even with final grades, may change their GPA and help them for bright futures and other kinds of scholarships. It's not for class percentiles and rank. Okay, please make sure you communicate with your counselor. Usually at this time of the program, the Department Head of Student Services comes up and does a thing on graduation. We're going to put that up there in a couple of days. Sometimes there's misinformation about graduation. The only person who really knows about your child graduating is your child's counselor by alphabet. Don't ask me, because if I say yes, and at the end of the year, your counselor says no, they're right. So it's really easy to procrastinate. Please make sure they ask for help. Make sure they get done their virtual school classes. So many of them haven't done personal fitness, and that completes the program. Ask for help, not from your friends and not from past students, because things have changed. Let's stop the myths and make sure you use facts. Okay, email communication. I talked about it. I can't re-emphasize that. Turn on your notifications. Watch this program again. I know I'm overwhelming you. It'll be on YouTube under College Sense to Me or Harry Nierenberg. Facebook, just Google on Facebook, Palmetto Parent Scholarship. You don't have to be my friend to join this. I'll approve you if you tell me you're a Palmetto parent, or even if you're a neighborhood parent. It's open to the public as long as you can show me that you are a legitimate person, which I know all of you hopefully are watching are legitimate people. The kids have to give up some things, and I've been telling the kids give up TikTok through the month of October. For me, Netflix, I give up Netflix during October because of Letters of Rec and doing all these things. YouTube is totally addictive. Snapchat's going down. The kids aren't doing it too much anymore. Binge watching, we're all doing that. I know we're all wasting time, but this is crunch time. This is where, you don't go out and waste time. If they're going to take the SAT again, please make sure they're using Khan Academy. It's a great tool for tutoring for the SAT. And remember, the only TikTok we got is June 2021. Okay, we got to get there so your kids can graduate and move on to the next chapter of their life. To reach your counselor, use email to set up an appointment. Linda Dwyer is our interventionist. It's Linda Dwyer at dateschools.net. Mine is hnierenberg at dateschools.net. I'm opening up Zoom hours now for the kids who are half in and half out. I have that open all the time during lunchtime and a lot of times during the day. So you can do this and email me and I'll give you the daily link. Appointments during the day on Zoom. If you have to get out of class, if you really are struggling to meet with me, I'm there for you if you want. I love meeting with your children. I like even meeting with you all. It's why we do the job. Don't one more time forget about our community colleges. So many out there. Like TCC has a great relationship with FSU, Santa Fe with UF, Valencia with UCF, Palm Beach Community with FAU, Southeastern University with FGCU. They all have articulation workshops. Can you go to Miami-Dade and go to another school? Absolutely. But those schools have articulation agreements. So you can look at these schools and they're there. If your child is not college bound and they want to look, Miami-Dade County Public Schools has this Get a Career in a Year. It's amazing. Kids can walk out of there in 18 months and get an earning $60,000 a year. They have a program with Toyota and Honda and diesel mechanics and hairdressing. And I can't even begin to tell you the host of this program. If you want more about it, ask your counselor about it. Email me or Ms. Dwyer. We'll send you the information. You can call them. You can go right on there and ask questions, take a tour. It's an amazing program if your children are one of those children that just don't want to go to college. Okay, don't turn this YouTube off and go tell your child they must get done right now. Tomorrow will be okay. Understand, I have stressed you out. Your relationship with your child for these next 10 months are more essential than anything else. Please make sure you research things, calm, relax. Don't let fear come out as anger. Don't let all of the stress we have this year of not having a senior year as normal impact us. It is horrible. It is not fun doing it the way we're doing it. It is not the way it's supposed to be. I was supposed to be in the auditorium talking to you guys, or in the library or somewhere, not doing this through a YouTube. It has a deep impact on all of us, not just you, but the teachers and our administration have been amazing so far. I mean, once again, your relationship with your child is more important than the college admission process. Just be firm, but don't get angry at them if they procrastinate. It's normal. Okay, so I don't know how else to give you advice about that, but I know under normal circumstances, this is stressful. And now if they're home doing their classes, it's even probably more. And if they're in school with a mask on, it's probably even more. Make it as normal as we can make it, and let's get through the year and be healthy and move forward. Go home, this is an old slide, obviously, go walk downstairs from your computer and go tell your child you love them. That's what really matters in this situation. It is not the way it was supposed to be. And once again, I'm repeating myself, but I'm going to say it. This is my last year. This is my last senior parent night. So, it impacts us all. I wanted to be out there with you guys doing this in a public forum. They'll always be your babies. They'll always be that, no matter how old they get. This letting them go to college is a huge mental issue. Cutting the cord is huge. Letting them go on their own, especially with the fear of the pandemic. Even without that going on, it's hard to let your child go. Join me on Facebook or SCORE. Email me, your counselors, Ms. Dwyer, and we will gladly help you get through this process. If you need us, we're there for you. Just remember one last time, everything has to get in. It doesn't matter what time frame it is. It does matter that it gets in. I can't thank you enough for being here tonight or today. It is, once again, my last senior parent night, and I just love working with your kids. Your kids are a delight. It is absolutely a delight to work at Palmetto. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better school, and just enjoy myself tremendously. Once again, if you have any questions about this, normally you'd come up in the front of the auditorium and ask me questions. Okay, some of you would be walking out the door totally freaked out. But email me with a question. Email Linda Dwyer with a question. Email your counselor with a question. We have a wealth of information to help you. We will get through this in June 21. We will be done and moving on to the next chapter of our lives. I hope this presentation helps you, and that's the whole purpose of it. And I wish you good health, support from your family, lots of love, and thank you.